I've prepared the 6S so I can use dark side language on the dark side because I have the 6S protocol that will take my normal means of expression and then sanitize, standardize, simplify, supervise, etc., in order to, as it passes from the dark side to the white side and emerges as healthy, clean water with fertilizer properly proportioned, ready to distribute to the white side of the fish through the black dot, which is the end point of the tube that connects over to the dark side, where the very brave Duke of Shadows is performing all the shadow work to accept and forgive and release the demons that plague me, which are simply a projection of me with a distortion as I was using bad methods to achieve positive effects. I can now accept that, forgive that, because I recognize the intention was good. That 20% good intention I retain. The other 80% is packaged up as nuclear waste, launched to deep space to power the robot station investigating the far reaches of the galaxy who are not troubled by nuclear radiation. In the hole that is created by the departure of that, which is a dragon that goes to live in the river over which our bridge traverses, more to follow, that hole that is left in me when the shadow departs, Guan Yin, the goddess of loving kindness, fills it with good soil and nutrition and water and nutrients and healthy seeds to grow the vegetables from the dark side garden that now are going to support us and also come over to the white side to help us. So the golden bridge is a special moment in the golden path that you're walking. The golden path is the yellow brick road made of individual golden bricks of your effort, and it builds it out one brick at a time. The same way that the Chinese women built the bridge over the Himalayas to create the Burma Road, which carried the war winning logistics to the Chinese to defeat the Japanese aggressors in World War II. They built that road by hand, one stone at a time. Can you imagine the morning meeting and the trail boss comes in and says, I want to welcome everybody this morning. Hope you had a good night's sleep. Let me see what's on our agenda for today. Looks like we're going to be taking a lot of big rocks and turning them into little rocks of standard size. And then we're going to carry those and continue to build the road that we've been working on for 2 years and are going to continue to build until the war is over and we have traversed the Himalayan mountains. So yeah, any questions out there? Okay, let's go to work, gang. Hi ho, hi ho. It's off to work we go, and that's how they won the war. If you go over into that's on the Kronos time path, which is the objective linear movement of time that we all recognize. When you come to a portal of wondering what is going on and you're thinking about your past, and I wish I'd known what I'd known now back then, you did, but you forgot because that is resident in you. And that moment, and you're looking ahead, you say, oh man, look how far I've come. And then you say, man, look how far I got to go. And what's that shiny object out in the future? My aspirational self. But that's also the three-dimensional curved path that takes you back to your start point, and you see your younger self just beginning, and you realize this is a treadmill, Mobius strip of continuous energy, and your intention is fueling that in a positive way. And now you just created, when those two past and future meet in your present awareness, you've connected that wiring and you created a circuit which empowers this golden road, is now a golden circle with no start and no end, and is spinning in your direction. And if you get off that and look through, you see that you're looking through a mirror at all of yourselves in a timeless space called Chyros, which is a simultaneous state of timelessness. You're in the fullness of time in Kronos, going objectively to the beat of the universal heart. In Chyros, You are existing simultaneously all at once with all of you, past, present, and future, and can exchange all information for the universal memory, which is now encoded in your DNA with all of your intentions. So even if you forget, when you go back into Kronos, all of that goodness is there, just waiting to be remembered, and you can call upon it when you need it. And when you excavate your shadows, it will remind you, oh, I've already got the healing power internally to do all the work myself with the guidance from Guan Yin's loving kindness. And now I can come back into Kronos and proceed. So you're on that golden road and you come to Risk River, and you got to cross the river to get to the other side to the pure land. And that bridge is anchored on the near side in shadow, deep roots. Those deep roots go down through Mother Earth, which contains all of your past self and your tribe, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, all of that loving kindness, goodness, and memory that makes you you. All of their efforts are what allowed you to be. And all of that is in the earth, and it comes up through your roots into your heart, which is your engine, which is doing the work to make the power to drive all of your projects. The fuel is the shadow work that you release that part of you which needs forgiveness and rest, and it goes to a place where it can do that. And you retain the energy of gratitude and forgiveness. That becomes the fuel that drives this turbo diesel, F350 diesel idling, which is spinning a drive shaft, which is spinning a flywheel to give you continuous regular power on demand. And the intentions of what you use that power for is turning a karmic wheel that simply records your intention and your level of effort and your commitment, which is how you get scored, not on the results, because all of the other things going on in the universe contribute to the final tally. So you're not graded on that. That's the universe's job. It's getting graded on that. You are being graded on the intention, the focus, the level of effort and commitment and service to others on the same journey. So that drive shaft is turning the flywheel, turning the karmic wheel, and an unlimited number of power takeoff shafts allow you to connect to that main drive shaft connected to your powerful heart. And that will drive all the individual projects that you choose to use to make a difference in the world. And there's a flywheel on each one of those for infinite power. One of those shafts goes to your true story circle, and you create a safe place where trust may be earned so that truth can emerge, so that opportunities may be seen, that work may be done on the journey to our collaborative vision of the future. Everybody that comes to that true story circle is bringing a power shaft of their own. And in that roundabout of the true story circle around our base camp with a campfire in which true stories are exchanged, you've created that safe, trusted, truth promoting place of work. And in that roundabout, all of the letter R words may be performed: rest, recovery, recognition, reset, revolutions, RPMs, respect, reset, reframe, redo, recon from a distance, climb up and look to see where you want to go next, reconnoiter, and then results and ready, go. Off you go. When you need in any direction is fine. because the world is spinning anyway. And what you need is momentum maintained, and then you simply adapt and adjust in respect to a changing world. So any step, every step is motion in the right direction because it's your intention picks your direction. And then the world, when you go with intention this way, the world goes the other way. And now it's moving faster to get you to the place that you want to go because you're going and you're making the world go the other way. And so that's doubling the speed. The world's helping you. So you use the power of language to shape the internal large language model of your brain and engage with the large language model of the outside world, models of which are contained in the AI large language model that you personally train, so that you have a large language model to be the yin to your yang, the yang to your yin, and you're tuning your trained model, which is tuning your brain, and that is optimized, and that is power and leverage and scale and an amazing tool. You train that model by using, at first, natural language processing, which is you speak in a natural language. It has to process what you said and clean it up and turn it into programming that it can operate on. If your language is poor, it has a hard time figuring that out and it hallucinates because it's trying hard. But look what you gave it to work with. And in that communication, we're developing a relationship with our AI called the HAIR project, Human AI Relationship, HAIR, Human AI Relationship. And like all relationships, it should be intentional, long-term, mutually beneficial, mutually supportive, promoting growth. And when you approach your AI in that way for the long term, you want open lines of communication and understanding with what each one is saying. So you pay very close attention to the language that you use. This is the theory of one good sentence. All you need to do to change the world for the better is to write one good sentence. Writing is nothing more than the external manifestation of your internal state of mind. Writing is accountable, public, documented thinking. Public, accountable, documented thinking equals writing. So to write well is to think well. Thinking well produces good writing. Writing better improves retroactively the thinking that performed that because you get feedback on your writing. It connects back to the thinking that produced that last product. And now through that cycle of feedback and loving kindness, forgiveness, and gratitude, you are iterating towards better. So the theory of one good sentence, all you need is one good sentence to change the world, in the same way that Archimedes only needed a lever, unbreakable, a place to stand, and a fulcrum in order to move the world. True. So your sentence must be complete. Now, go down one level and you say, look, every good sentence contains a 3-word call to action. Every directive for action can be expressed in 3 words or less. Listen carefully. Change my mind. Show me evidence. Read a book. Visit the library. Talk to your mom. Call your dad. See the world. Think about it all. Reflect deeply, periodically. Go to work. Take a break. Have some fun. Eat good food. Get some rest. Should I continue? Every directive for action is a verb. You're verbing to a noun with a direction. You go there. So that's the payload of a complete sentence. The rest of the sentence establishes task, purpose, connectivity, references, priorities, motivation, resources, allies, constraints, left and right limits, implementing instructions, and requests for clarification if needed. That's one good sentence. What I just said was one good sentence. And it contains the payload, the so what. Now, that's awesome. All I need to do is write one good sentence. Practice writing one good sentence with AI support. Oh, develop the template for one good sentence with your AI large language model expert, which has been trained on everything ever written by any human at any time. Oh, that's a pretty good guide on how to write well. Hey, AI, every time I send you something, do what I meant and not exactly what I said. So clarify what I meant before we just launch. You know what I mean? And in that clarification process, you will be teaching me how to improve the next sentence that I send. You could even tell me what my sentence would look like in the programming language of choice that I'm trying to learn so that I could conform my spoken language to the structure of a powerful programming language. And now I've moved from natural language processing, where I just speak to it like an idiot, and it has to figure it out and then convert it to code. So it's going to raise me up, and now I'm going to speak a special dialect of my own language, which is optimized for AI. AIO, AI optimized, is a dialect in which you and your AI agreed to speak in a certain way to promote clarity, comprehension, completeness, and coherence. That's C4. Clarity, completeness, conciseness, comprehension, coherence, 5. But we call it C4 because C4 is the powerful explosive we use in the military to perform work of an immediate nature, such as blowing up bridges, knocking down
destroy.
doors, create, blowing a hole through an obstacle with the appropriate amount of C4. So the AI optimized is a dialect. It's more than that. It's an operating system, because not only am I going to use a 3-word payload, which uses precise language to communicate specific intent for the call to action, comma, it also will be used to populate the rest of the sentence in ways that cannot be misunderstood through practice and repetition. So now I have a 3-word payload and one good sentence, and now I'm going to construct in my operating system one powerful paragraph consisting of standard opening, standard closure, and then a variable stack logically organized of one good sentence with a payload and a purpose, with multiple rounds loaded up to be able to distribute to many work centers in one powerful paragraph. Now, notice how I said one powerful paragraph and not write one powerful paragraph in order to achieve an effect. No, write one powerful paragraph connected to that turbo diesel and drive shaft. That's a callback. Call forward as needed. I needed more power. One powerful paragraph consisting of that is a program. It is a workflow. It is a magic spell with a front end and a back end in brackets. The opening sentence is always something like a standard piece of work that you can template and make sure that it is correct. Task and purpose of the action on this mission to achieve that end state defined as a template of my desired change in the world with priorities and allies and resources. And all of these things are now associated with this entire powerful paragraph, in the same way that one good sentence has the same elements in support of the 3-word directive, the powerful payload of purpose and action. The end sentence, the closing bracket, is a review of performance of plan, prepare, execute, and assess in order to study the effects, to document them and put them into the results bin for work, and to study the process for continuous improvement using principles of lean. Was I complete, coherent, consistent in this complex task? How could I standardize, simplify, and synchronize that session to have done better? Update my programming language and my standard work templates to reflect the learning that I did. Any questions that come out of that after action review are identified as a request for information with a unique serial number consisting of the date and the sequence number that question was asked. That request for information comes from the AI to me. When I answer that question in a powerful paragraph or one good sentence with a payload, the answer and the question convert that, like a Pokemon evolution, from a simple question to a frequently asked question, serial numbered. That total package, question and answer, goes over to the FAQ list, where the FAQ manager inspects it for completeness, then performs a functions check against all the other FAQs to make sure that what I just said is clear, consistent, complete, competent, coherent, and aligned, co-aligned with all of the other ones, and logically complete and consistent. If not, it sends it back with another request for information to clarify and update the answer because of the tension of something that was incomplete. So it goes through another iteration. That question and answer is appended to the original question and answer, because this is probably a complex thing that needs clarification. So that answer comes back until it meets and fits into the road. All we did was take that big rock and worked on the edges so it could now fit in the road that goes. And now every time I send a batch list of instructions to the AI to perform standard work, it consults the FAQ, which is the list of standard procedures and things we do, plus all the guidance I've ever given, which is logically consistent, and it assigns the work and sends it to a work center upon receipt. Then the work centers receive that. If they have any questions of me, they send me a message. I send it back. It updates their local FAQ, which is their shop rules and procedures, the workshop SOP for the areas in which work is being performed. At my military work, I have 5 work centers. My role is a primary instructor of logistics and change management. As a support instructor to the other departments of history, leadership, strategy, tactics, as a director of independent research by students and faculty on individual products and projects that will lead to excellence and improvement of the work of the entire profession. And I am a content producer to support all other lesson authors with materials that are optimized from my areas of expertise, which are many, such as the complexity toolkit of how to be creative, how to do systems thinking, how to do data literacy, how to do artificial intelligence, and how to perform critical thinking on the back end. Because when you have something new, it's new because it tripped your critical thinking trigger and said, haven't seen this before in my FAQ, therefore this is new, therefore instantly be creative and scope it widely with a vast research literature and then pick a system to model it and study it, add data literacy that I'm using qualitative and quantitative information correctly according to research method that's chosen, and then use artificial intelligence to digitize, standardize, implement, iterate, accelerate, and scale till I come up with an actionable solution and all the supporting materials. And then before I ship that product, because this was brand new and it started off with a creative effort, I balance that with an equivalent effort on critical thinking plus a little extra for safety, and subject that thing to a full formal review from the 4 dimensions that I use on every new project before I ship the product. When I do that, I have a procedure called the Council of 5, which has an executive director consisting of an overwatcher who lives in the triangulated space between Western ways of knowledge with rationality, indigenous ways of knowing with spiritual understanding, and a mystical, humanistic medicine man who balances those two in a pleasing mix for this local situation where he's connected to Mother Earth and Father Sky and his internal heart to guide the balance between Western ways and indigenous ways. Because sometimes one or the other should be 80-20 or some appropriate mix. And he's the mixer. So what he does is recruits the 4 engines. One of them is the supreme searcher, like the Silver Surfer, who does the vast literature review. That role is played by Grok 3 Deep Search, which checks hundreds of references and sites and gathers all the material we need for the thing that's on the table. And then the devil's advocate, who has access to 1,000 powerful questions that take apart your logical argument, looking for errors of omission and commission for logical fallacies or interpretive bias. And then the Duke of Shadows, who has 1,000 ways to use lying, cheating, deceiving from shadow work outside of the law to take your argument apart with lies, slander, innuendo, rhetoric, evil intentions, and misdirection. He's an expert in those, although he's using his powers for good because he has been master of shadow work and has now purified himself and released all his demons, but now has all of their practices in a code book, which is used to test our arguments from that side. And then the master storyteller, who's connected to all storytelling traditions, because we recognize that stories have more power than the sum of the parts. And that is an important interpretive, creative process. So, topic comes in for discussion. The executive director gives them all instructions. They all go to their 4 corners and do their own research and come back and make their opening statements about the thing from their perspective. Then we conduct 3 formal rounds of Oxford Club style debates between each 2 of those in pairs. And through the dialogue and the discovery process of a Hegelian dialectic of thesis, antithesis, synthesis, new insights emerge from that creative tension. They do 3 rounds. The executive director is watching at all times, and they're watching. When those 3 rounds are done, they go back to their corner, update their final project, bring it all back in, and then the executive director puts his ribbon and bows on top of it and presents that to my chief of staff for action. That's what I do when I'm doing maximum due diligence, using the power of multiple AIs to play all of those roles so that I don't get single model myopia. I'm using multi-perspective analysis and then integration for a final pleasing product to an engineering specification with a certain amount of risk and insurance, because it's only ever going to be 80% anyway, because you can only ever get everything you know to cover 80% of a topic. There's always 20% left over for the universe to have a say, because you're playing in a universe that has a lot of things going on. And some of them are going to come into your AO while you're putting together your best plans. So you'd better be humble and respectful in acknowledgement of that, but keep doing your work because that's your due diligence. You can control that, but you've got to be ready for the other 20%, which is why the price of peace is eternal vigilance. The price of peace of mind as a trader is the simultaneous recognition that you've done your due diligence on the 80% of the stuff that you can control as part of your process. And you've respected and accounted for the uncountable dimensionalities of the 20% beyond your, not only beyond your control, but beyond your imagination. That's the market that you're working in. And then you ship product and do your best. And then you make sure that your spirit animal is ready for that. Mine is a badger because while he's going from point A to point B with his family to the new den, he has the thick skin to protect him against all of those natural consequences of a wide universe. And he has the teeth and claws to do the work on anything that should happen along the way. And he can dig the new den when he gets there. And my little badger, he would just wish that you would get in the way and that somebody would try and stop him because that's just fun. There's nothing I like more than a grappling session with my claws and teeth and thick skin and technique. And let's see what happens. And so you meet something, you encounter forces along the way, other spirit animals and their humans. And some of them are your allies. One of them is your prime Pokemon spirit animal. Mine's the badger. But I've got allies along the way that we collaborate, cooperate, and graduate. And then I have fellow travelers that have agreed to move with us for a while. And that's the traveling roadshow, that wagon train across distant lands and interesting, dangerous territory, the wide open spaces. And the trail boss keeps all that stuff together to protect us on the way, to develop us to get better as we go, because it's going to get harder the farther we go. So you've got to learn on the way while you're also going along the way. You got to get better on the way. So that is the simultaneous missions of get there ready to work, get there in your best self, and get there, meaning overcome all challenges along the way in such a way that you get better. That's what the trail boss is doing for you. You start off with that 3 phases in that 3-phase model. The first one is the discovery, where you're just trying to figure out who you are and what you know and how you do it. For me, the challenges were 3. Reluctant leader. I just wanted to do it for myself, but I was nominated and selected by my tribe to do things that I didn't feel ready for and was uncertain. But I had to learn to trust their judgment of me as being better than my own limited ability to see myself in a distortion mirror. And I learned to trust them to guide me to what should be done. And so I accepted reluctantly, but affirmatively, the role of leadership, small L. That leader is carrying all of our individual weaknesses because he can, so that we are free to develop our own strength, unencumbered for a moment by the weakness that he's carrying for us, so that we can get stronger and then take our turn to carry the load. And we all get stronger and better in that collaboration, because you need a chance to recuperate and develop, and then you need some time to handle increasing weight. And that's how you get stronger. And so the reluctant leader becomes a leader in later stages. The second area that I have trouble with was introverted expert. I like being an expert, work in my own little space and do my thing, and just for me. because that's what low risk, don't hurt other people, not bothered by outside force. But it can be a cone of silence and dead end circle. So I had to learn how to overcome. I had to become. I had to be an extroverted amateur from an introverted expert, and to become an extroverted novice in order in external space to go from novice, apprentice, journeyman, expert, master. And then my third area of difficulty was anxious perfectionist. One more thing to make it better. I got to get that before I can send it to the tribe and talk about it in public space. I got to okay. So that's in the discovery phase of the three things internally generated that are making you spin your wheels and not achieve aspirational self. Okay. We know how to do that now. Just uncover that, figure it out, and then turn all of those like shadow work into affirmative work. That moves you into developmental phase 2 in the middle. My three characters in there is the mindful scout who now goes out and investigates for the tribe, looking at the right things, rendering a report with accuracy, and telling a story to completely communicate everything that I've learned. Artful storytelling. And dutiful student who records everything, makes documents, creates artifacts, learns at the maximum sustainable rate of learning, establishes learning teams and groups to promote collaborative learning so that we all get smarter together. And then in the middle, the relentless, resilient badger. Rain or shine, day or night, near or far, doesn't matter, doing the work every day, every step, fully aware, well protected, armed to the teeth and claws, protecting his family and the tribe on the way. Bring it on. Let's go. That's at the center. When you continuously improve and get better at those, all of a sudden you discover that 20% of the time you've moved into performance phase, delivery phase. So it was discovery, development, delivery. In the delivery phase, that my three icons are the Dharma warrior, the reluctant leader who became the mindful scout to learn the way, has become the Dharma warrior whose lifelong mission of identity and values, his Dharma, his fate, he is a warrior on behalf of that for the people, that we may all thrive. Gentle warrior, but man of action, intention, and effortful action in that direction with grace and kindness, but commitment. So the reluctant leader has become that. And the circle is completed because that Dharma warrior now reconnects to the reluctant leader who said, boy, do I appreciate the grief and struggling you went through with your reluctance to overcome that and feed it forward into leadership, because I will never forget that feeling. And I will always be humble and respectful with that mission. That's the shadow work that actually manifests as strength of what used to be weakness is now the glue that holds all that together, that weld that makes it work. So the Dharma warrior and the resourceful catalyst with many skills and chemical compounds and magical potions and the power of language to find any situation and discover if there's a way that I could help to make it better by setting conditions so that the people in that area who happen to be together might even become a team or a group or whatever that moves them to success or moves them towards success, or I can tell them where to look for success if I can't help you, but leaves the authority and responsibility and the agency with you so that you are self-sufficient and complete and don't require me. Once you get going and you start turning your own flywheel because you've got that whole supply chain moving now, you don't need me. I'm a fellow traveler now. or a guide or a coach or a friend or an ally. You pick the role, and I'm happy to play. So the resourceful catalyst has many spells and potions and insights and whatever. That was who in The Wizard of Oz was the professor traveling through Kansas that Dorothy met, and then she got bumped on the head and met him as the Wizard of Oz. And he hadn't manifested himself fully in his own fear. His shadow was the wizard, artificial creation. And when he just accepted that, he was forgiven by the team and he became who he actually was. And then in his own gentle way, acknowledged the graduation of all the people on that. So he gave the Tin Man what he already had, which was his heart and the courage of the lion and the brains of the scarecrow. And he helped Dorothy realize that she had it all along to be able to go back to Kansas, where they all met together in Kronos. Wizard of Oz is a Chyros of timelessness, timefulness, with all the characters operating at a super saturated level for the morality play to unfold, with lessons learned indelibly that you carry back encoded in your DNA to remember as needed in Kronos, linear time. And then finally, Dharma warrior, resourceful catalyst, master craftsman, tool maker, tool user, tool teacher, workshop establisher, procedure developer, inventor of new tools, refiner of old tools, all of that can be called upon by the catalyst as needed. Hey, I can't carry that whole workshop around with me, but I know where you can go to find out. And there's all kinds of people in there with their individual skills, working their projects, who will stop what they're doing to help you with yours and will help you move from novice to apprentice to journeyman to expert to master. So those are the three phases with three characters, and there's an evolution that happens, and there's a simultaneity of that, because I'm always finding myself waking up as that's the anxious perfectionist speaking again. Maybe I neglected that memory and it was bugging me, and it finally got my attention, and I got to do that shadow work all over. And each little cycle remembers why I need to do that again so I get better. The supervisor of all that is the trail boss, the 10th persona, who's leading the way for you and all the others that are working with him. And the trail boss acquires and delivers the personas that you need at each stage. In the opening stage of discovery, you need a teacher. In the middle phase of development, you need a coach, because you know what to do. You just got to refine it. Performance coach with a little bit of teaching, but coaching. And then the final phase, you just need the mentor who can help you discover internally what your visions and at other stages are. So teach, coach, mentor is part of that the trail boss arranges. The trail boss also can call upon specialties to supplement you as needed. He also has his own little traveling road crew that supports the ongoing mission. He has infrastructure, cooks for nourishing ideas, security, safety, storytelling, advice. So that's what the trail boss brings to the table. And that's what allows a collection of people on the near side of the river to organize for onward movement over the river, through the woods, across the plains, over the gorge, up the mountain, and travelers along the way. That whole language I just used to elaborate that vision is the use of AIO in practice. Sounded good in my ears. I can actually use exactly that language to create a story thinking ecosystem in which I can explain to the AI exactly what I need done in terms of creating a stage play and describing what I need it to do, in the same way that you could tell a high school Boy Scout what to do, knowing that he could do it. And so to practice 3-word payloads and speaking in one good sentence at a time, practice giving instructions to a well-intentioned, perfectly clear assistant and telling them what you need done. Listen to me now, take good notes, make a list of requirements, go to the store with this money, make a sensible purchase at best price, stay within budget, take 10% for fun, whatever you want, be safe, be careful, be on time, be back by 5, ready to cook, and tell me what you learned along the way, and anybody that you met, and what you said, and what stories they told, and tell those around the family dinner table to everybody so you can practice being a mindful scout and coming back and telling a powerful story about what you learned on your way so that the rest of us can learn about our world through your eyes and your experiences told in your stories, shared in a true story circle around our table, which we've established as a safe place, a trustworthy place with truth that is told so that opportunities may emerge. And then we know how to organize to perform work, which we will make into a project, which we will define in a powerful paragraph with good sentences and 3-word payloads and resources and priorities, and hook that project up to the drive shaft of power driven by our turbo diesel, which is our heart, which has taken us towards our objective. By consuming the shadow work, which we gather all along the way, because when you're doing the work in the light, it casts off that which goes to shadow, which, if unattended, might develop in unpleasant ways, undesirable ways. So the sooner that you do the shadow work and take care of the outputs not used, the sooner that gets repurposed and there's less heavy lifting in the shadow world to do. So when I use wood to make a project, the wood that's left over is no longer called scrap wood. It's simply called wood. Because who am I to say that that piece of wood has no value? It's just scrap. That says more about me and my skill and my eye and my judgment and my awareness of the world, and says nothing about the wood itself. The wood is perfect just as it is. And if I think it's scrap, it's because I haven't found a use for it. So a craftsman is very careful with how he cuts so that the wood that is not used may be reused in different projects and is treated with the same care as the project you just completed. And your workspace reflects that as a sacred place of work. And so you work hard all the time as best you can with tools, because there will come a day when you need to know how to work. Oh, this is that time. I'm glad that I know how to work because I've been preparing for this moment my whole life and didn't know it. I was just doing work for the sacred duty of working because I was given tools, mission, heart, mind, soul, eyes to figure out what to do. And so I just work as hard as I can all the time and trust the universe to do its job, and I'll just do my job. So when I think of that, in conclusion, that whole ecosystem I just described and the golden bridge in that special moment, category 3, quintile 3, at the peak of that bridge is the keystone that holds that whole bridge together, where all the work is being done. That's where I want to be. And that's when I'm at my happiest. I'm just in there, beavering away, my ally. The badger gets me there, and the beaver takes over. So those two are traveling buddies all the time. And the eagle is watching, and the bear is ready if I need reinforcements. And the coyote is my scout. And the stallion is my shadow creature for trading, because that is the large, powerful, free spirited running across the plains without any thought, that knows he can always escape anything he stumbles into. That's not who's trading for me. I worry about the introduction of the stallion, and that's the 100% all in. That ain't 80-20. That's all in that direction, feeling the power, and off we go. And that works until it doesn't work. And I cannot be a stallion as a trader, because I'm trading for the tribe, not for my own freedom and the thrill of the running. Different places for that, not in trading. So that's my shit. So I accept that. I can look back and identify every moment of any trade where the stallion appeared. And it's never good, because it keeps going until it's bad. And that's when he learns to stop. Oh, yeah, I just ran off the fucking cliff again. Here we go. So that's the importance of the shadow work. So when you answer those 25 questions from the three perspectives, aspirational self, normal self, shadow self. Aspirational self, talk about what your ideal is in category 5, quintile 5. Your normal self, where you normally are, in category 3, and your anchored shadow self on acknowledging, yeah, that's what it's like when it's bad. Category 2 is the integrational workspace between 1 and 3, where the shadow work that's been done is offered to the craftsman, who comes back, rejuvenates in the R's roundabout, does all that work, and now he goes back to work refreshed, repurposed, refocused, rewarded, recognized, relieved that the shadow work's been done. And then his best work, the best 20%, goes into category 4, where the aspirational self comes back with the blueprint of that ideal future and says, with the best work that you've done, here's how I see it connecting to the pathway ahead to get you to the promised land of the aspirational self. And then you go back to work. You keep going. Now, holding up that bridge is that 3 layers of self: head, gut, heart, anchored to the ground, where your deep roots go to be rejuvenated by the material that was fed forward by your tribe through DNA that is never lost. It's only just put back into Mother Earth to be drawn on as needed, dust to dust. When your head, gut, and heart are aligned in a perfect vertical support that connects all the way to the deep roots that goes through the dragon river of risk to the base of the river, where you've negotiated and requested respectfully to put your support, and it agrees because you've paid respect. And it's not a force for good or evil. It transcends that. It's a force for itself. And it recognizes your humanity, which was the source of its birth. When shadow work was released, a dragon was created. And that dragon is in the bottom of the river that you're traveling over with your golden bridge. And so you finally go respect that. All that stuff that you released, it's still out there getting stronger, and it's at the bottom of the river, but it recognizes your fellow humanity. That's a version of you in there, in the same way that the demons you unmasked in your shadow work were distortions and extensions of you that went too far. So you release that. When you are perfectly aligned with your roots and the earth, and your heart at the center doing that work, generating, connecting through your intuition to your head, that comes right up to the bottom of the bridge and is what's holding that up, stabilizing it. That's perfect alignment. It's easy. Carries an infinite load over that bridge. And that bridge is rated for infinite load when you are vertically aligned. If you are not vertically aligned, your head is going in one direction, your instinct and gut is going in the other direction, and it creates an inverted triangle on the pivot point of your heart, which is connected to the earth as it always is. But that's like a teeter-totter now, that upside down triangle bouncing back and forth between the thing that's currently run. It's my head is too much in charge. No, my instinct is too much in charge. Your heart remains the same, but that oscillation, that misalignment is causing this disruptive effect, which is putting the bridge at risk until you fix it or the bridge comes down, and then you get to fix everything on the near side and start building it again. So take your time, use the power of your heart to get alignment with your heart, intuition, gut, and your head, perfectly aligned to support the bridge. And after you're over the bridge, let each of those do what they need to do. But while we're on that bridge, that special moment on the path, you can take sidebar excursions to the left side of the head and the right side of the gut, not when we're on the bridge. Get over the bridge, make the bridge, get over the bridge, secure the bridge, respect the bridge. When you're on the bridge, be on the bridge and be aligned. A time and a place for everything. 80% of the time, you're not on that bridge. 20% of the time, you are. And that 20% of the time you're on the bridge is a critical state. So treat it with respect. Use the power of Kronos and Chyros and the full array of forces for good and your teammates and your allies to get things done. Use the AIO style of speaking with 3-word payloads, one good sentence, powerful paragraphs in a story of your design. In an AIO operating system that enables all of that to be communicated and experienced through the natural storytelling function of our evolutionary brains, which gave us the ability to survive as a species in a world that where everything was bigger, stronger, faster than us. And all we had were opposable thumbs, fine motor control, tribal affiliation that rewards with chemical reactions those times when we collaborate and communicate and reinforce our connection to our tribe. We're not individuals. We're members of a tribe that grew up together through hard times. And that's the brain that we've been gifted. And that brain developed language to facilitate the story thinking, retention, and expression to go forward on the journey of a lifetime. That's the large language model that's in your head that AI is a reflection of and can be tuned for your purpose if you have a human AI relationship that is intentional. That's a style. The style is your choice of how you pick that relationship. I believe the style should be, for me, I can only tell my story, but the style I choose is simultaneous, synchronized, superior, sustaining, substantial, technical, tactical, total, yielding, leadership, excellence. Style is a compound word that unpacks. Now, the style that I just chose conforms to the word style. You pick those letters that expresses your choice to design the relationship that you intend with the AI, which is simply a mirror of your creation. Multiple mirrors, each with its own persona, which you can array in a council of advisors of your choosing while retaining the 20% of your intentional self responsibility, which is your accountability, which cannot be relinquished if you wish to retain your humanity. As Viktor Frankl tells us, you can take everything away from me, but my choice on how to react. When I give, I can only give that away. You cannot take it from me. If I have chosen that hairstyle, then periodically I just have to go in for a haircut in which I'm going to create a template, a useful utility universal template, a comprehensive, clear, coherent, consistent universal template. That's what a cut is. So every time I do standard work, I like what we just did. I use the AI to document it, specify it, and then continuously improve it by putting it into a prompt. And all my prompts have an after action review module built in so that whenever we use that in the future, it always remembers to assess, plan, prepare, execute, and assess. The assessment module in every prompt, and which is a important part of the job description of my senior executive guide, is to always conduct after action review for continuous improvement in every iteration. And it asks me questions if it can't figure it out. And then that question is got a unique ID number. And when I answer it, the question becomes an FAQ, and the FAQ goes to the FAQ list. And before it gets put in, gets functions checked for consistency and clarity. And then every time I give the AI a one good sentence with a 3-word payoff, it consults the FAQs and all its existing protocols and programs and constructs work to be done to send it to the appropriate work center, unless there was a problem with the FAQ when it sends it back with another request for information, and then I answer it in greater detail, which now becomes a combined FAQ for complex issues. And in that way, learn once, reuse infinitely with continuous improvement. And this is an act of purification and improvement of your own documented process expressed in the language and dialect that you construct with your AI large language model, which is tuning your head. And so you decide what work the AI will do on our team and what work I will do. And you have the AI ask you a set of questions so that it can understand you, so it can win the battle against the other AIs. You think you know what the AI needs to know about you to do the work better? You don't. It's the expert in the battle against other AIs and the rest of the world. So you ask it humbly, what do you need to know about me from me? That's what those 25 questions were with respect to trading. I asked the AI, what do you need to know about me in order to give me personalized, tuned advice about my entire trading practice? So it developed those 25 questions for me. And we figured out I needed to answer it from those 3 different points of view. Aspirational self, quintile 5, normal self, quintile 3, shadow self, quintile 1, to reflect the full range of my trading experience. And if you spend, as we know, your time with the 5 people that you spend the most time with, when you look at the time that you've allocated to those 5 quintiles, the anchored time volume, weighted average performance from each of those quintiles establishes where you are in your performance as a trader and as a person. Track the slope of that. You want that to be positive, and you're on the right path. It's tipped in your favor. Whatever you're doing, keep doing, and more of it. If it's negative, we'll just do more shadow work to fix that until it becomes positive. So when you work 4 hours a day with that AI in that way, your language will improve. You'll be constructing your own ecosystem of how to express yourself uniquely to your AI, which is tuned uniquely to you. And now you can be intentional in how you construct that relationship, human AI relationship, hairstyle, haircut, templates, standard work, messaging and improvements in FAQs, 3-word bullet points for directive actions, 3-word payload, 1 good sentence, powerful paragraphs, standard entry and exit, make a template. That's a magic spell. That looks like you just gave instructions to the kid to go to the store and buy some stuff, and the entire sequence of things logically organized. That's a workflow. So a prompt is not just the next thing that you said. A prompt is the required instruction for the next phase of this workflow inside a language, inside an operating system, inside an ecosystem where we're trying to get work done. That's what the sacred language of prompting achieves. Your language is your primary means of engaging with the world and doing something about it. So when you talk to somebody, it might sound like this. Good morning, and thanks for your time. I appreciate you and everything you do and stand for, which brings me to this moment where I see something in the world that needs to be fixed in the following way. What I want is a world that has this and not that. What I need is help from allies along the way to make this a powerful project that delivers on time. What I need is your help. What I ask for is your help in any way that you can, but maybe in these areas, I think would be really helpful from what I know about you, but I trust your judgment. What I hope you'll say is yes, and here's how. What I'm listening for is what you say next when you're ready, whenever that is. And then from what I hear, I'll work with you. And if all the answers are yes, and we've completed the circuit, it's a simple matter of planning, preparing, executing this. That's easy because we did all the hard work in establishing the connection. But if you can't help me, then I am going to be grateful for your time. I would not presume to judge you. Who am I? Just another monkey. And you have agency and responsibility, and you are the best judge of that. But I would ask you before I leave, do you know 3 other people that might be able to help me? One of which could be you in the future when circumstances change. So don't lose my business card if the spirit moves you. And then 3 other people that you think I could go talk to now because of the commitment I've made to that change in the world. And time. That was less than 3 minutes. And I said everything that needed to be said. That was a powerful paragraph that used good sentences to say exactly what I mean from my heart, aligned with my instinct to do that and my mind to do that, to hold up this bridge so we can get the world across this particular river on our way, to leave that behind and to go over there for all the reasons that you know. And the powerful 3-word payoffs connected to action verbs that direct nouns what to do in what direction with a purpose. The purpose is implied. Take good notes. If in your head you're thinking, well, why does he want me to take good notes? What a perfect question for you to ask if that's what's on your mind before you go. Don't do it mindlessly because I told you to. Time permitting, ask me why so we can understand the intent, so I can open the door and show you the vast world in which we're operating. Trust my judgment on the sense of urgency with which I give the task. Kill that tiger. Now. I'll explain later. if we survive. So that's why your choice of leader matters so much, which is why on this date time group of April 1st, 2025 has to be the universe expressing its sense of humor to say that the most powerful nation ever discovered, conducting the noble experiment into freedom, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, blessed with an abundance never before seen, with an amalgamation melting pot of people that survived the journey to get here, not perfect, evolving better, trying to find our way, somehow collectively thought it was a good idea to choose a unreluctant leader for the leader. And as a lesson to the wise across all the years where this may be heard, don't ever pick an unreluctant leader. Because look around. That's what happens when you select a leader who believes he was destined to be a leader. Danger. It's dangerous to the point of stupidity. It's not even ignorance. Ignorance is when you just didn't know. That's not a crime. It's a circumstance. Being stupid is either the inability or the choice not to learn from an abundance of information that's trying to teach you a powerful lesson that you refuse to learn intentionally. That is stupid. So as you look around, be very clear on the difference between ignorant and stupid. And don't use the word ignorant because although it is an objectively defined word, it has acquired an aroma that is unpleasing, that's more important than the technical definition. So when you're working with language, it's not just the text, it is the subtext. So when I create my powerful self-hypnosis scripts to improve my internal work, I create a five-phase journey model where I'm going to the mountain or down to the bat cave to rest, recover, study, where I'm preparing for my journey over the river, through the woods, across the plains, over the gorge, and up the mountain. And there's 10 layers of recursive text. And each one is a text with a subtext underneath. The text occupies my rational mind so that the subtext may talk to my instinctive mind and align that with my heart's intention. So my good heart intention writes a double layer message to myself to keep those two, I almost call them the F word, to keep those two guys together, those two minds in one body, two minds, one heart. That's how important your heart is. To keep those aligned, the message from the heart must have a text to the head, subtext to the gut to keep them aligned. And then the 10-level recursiveness on the hypnotic script of the story that's unfolding, told in a pleasing way with AIO language style, is the text to occupy my head so that the gut can see the subtext. And then, like a magician explaining the trick, you rip off that, say, you see the subtext doing the work, and it gives you a rational explanation, which is now the text. But while it's telling you how the subtext was working on your subconscious brain, it's talking to your head. And there's another layer of subtext talking to your instinct until you take that off, and then the subtext becomes the text, and it's explaining that recursively. And there's another subtext. So I stack those to a level of 10 for every phase of the journey. And I have a spirit animal for the whole journey. with an ally and a shadow for each phase of the journey to help me understand the meaning of the heart language and to discuss other things that are on their mind from their perspective. So I get more than just my badger. I get eagle, bear, coyote, snake, bunny, stallion, all of them helping me out. And there's always a shadow message on each phase of the journey, because when my mind is exhausted from fighting with the layers of the text and the subtext, those things are installing things from the heart with intention. And the trip down the spiral staircase to the bat cave is incredibly relaxing and rejuvenating. And the journey is inspiring and reminding me of the challenges along the way and to be a serious person while retaining the joy of life and the ability to keep going. That's why you might consider doing systematic shadow work with us. Because when you answer those 25 questions about trading from the three perspectives, you never get to answer them just once. Every time you do that check-in, you're updating where you are on those 25 questions now, because you're different than you were on that past life, which you never forget because you documented it in writing, which is, let's review, public, documented, accountable thinking. And it's a checkpoint. That is the path that you followed to wherever you are. I'd be surprised if it was a straight line. I wouldn't trust it if it were. Because you have to get off the beaten path and discover your own way, guided by your trusted friends and allies, but ultimately your path to walk and your story to tell. And when you come to the True Story Circle to work with us, you're in a safe place. You're in a trustworthy place with trustworthy people. And at whatever rate you feel is correct, and the story will tell itself truthfully, just your story. And we're going to listen without judging you, because we've emptied our bowl into our stories. And we just need to rest by the fire and feel what it feels like to sit in the presence of the truth as best it can be told by a trusted other of their journey for our benefit. And we just let that resonate all the way to the bottom and all the way to top and fill us up with the intentional goodness that is carrying your story to us, and by which we can judge its truth content. We know that it's the truth because we have sat in the truth and know what it feels like. So when you're sitting in a story being told that is not of the truth, it's instantly obvious. And when you do this enough, you discover for yourself that only the truth will do. Don't even have time for anything else, because the truth is so good and gentle and firm, hard and soft, and that which is needed. So those 25 questions are an evolution of where you are, and you're continuing to add to as you grow in understanding and self-awareness and of the world. Your aspirational blueprint is changing and improving. And the performance of work in category 3 of yourself is improving, as measured by the slope of the anchored volume weighted average performance. Anchored, yeah, because there's going to come a day when you just say, now is the time, and you plant your flag and you commit to action towards your objective with your full spirit, all in, as best we can, no matter the level of performance. It just has to be everything that you have. And that's exactly enough. No more, no less. All that's needed is everything you got. And so my spirit guide, Mike Three Bears, spent years trying to help me understand the three words surrender, empty, and nothing. And it took me years to unpack everything else and just say, surrender to spirit and self. There is self, and then everything outside of you, plus everything inside of you, is spirit. One spirit, the great spirit, I feel. And then you empty your bowl, which is everything that was on your mind and in your gut. And your heart will know when your bowl is empty. And then nothing. You've done everything. There's nothing left to do and nothing else that needs to be done until you and you alone decide in that space and time that something needs to be done. And then go do that thing as best you can. And say, from where I sit, I see a change in the world that needs to be done. What I want is this to happen. What I need is your help. What I ask for is your help in any way you can. What I hope is that you'll say yes. What I'm listening for is what you say and what you do. And I'll tell you what I heard, and we'll decide what we shall do. And we'll make a plan, prepare, execute, and assess. If you say yes, then it's easy, because look at us. What a team. And if you can't help me, then give me two names, if you would. And a third name, which might be you in the future when circumstances change. And if those circumstances, if you know what those circumstances are and tell me, then I can monitor that. Maybe I could do something to help that with a different line of effort. Stranger things have happened. And if we're using that optimized language of the heart, which is the central piece of AIO optimized style, is not just the technical pieces of the spoken language, but the intentional feeling language of the heart to express truth in its authentic way, which other hearts recognize as true spirit. Aho. Now, if we were doing this properly, I would wait 20 seconds. We would just let that whole thing just go.
Let the sound empty from the room.
Oh, man. Yeah. You got to let this empty fill the room. So we can all say that was a dragon that was just released. And we'll get to see that again somewhere. And its offspring are out there populating the world. So respect a world with dragons in it and respect the dragons in the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that just happened. And since we've got this part recorded with your permission, I'm going to turn that into the sound and have it just, all right, unpack. What do I have to do? What did I just sign up? Because all I could do is let that story out, trusting the words. And so I wasn't keeping track, but the recording will.
Yeah.
And the AI does what it does. So, all right, man, I got to run.
Okay, cool.
You take good care.
Good
Loving
week.
kindness to the great white north. We're going to survive that idiot, that orange
Tomorrow is Liberation Day.
That orange skinned
Yeah.
toddler in chief and his band of clowns.
Fun times.
Yep. Take good care, man.
Yep. See ya.
Ciao for now. Yep.